Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And today we're diving into a penny so rare, so unbelievably valuable, that finding one could change your entire life in an instant. We're talking about the 1992 Lincoln Penny, a coin that looks completely ordinary on the surface but holds a secret worth up to $17 million. Yes, you heard that right. $17 million for a single penny. And before we go any further, I need you to stick around because after this coin, we're revealing two more pennies that are worth even more than this one. And trust me, the values will absolutely blow your mind, especially the final coin, which might just be the most expensive penny in existence. Now, let's talk about why this 1992 Lincoln penny is worth such an astronomical amount. The 1992 penny was minted during a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of these coins, and most of them are worth exactly 1 cent. Nothing more, nothing less. But here's where things get fascinating. During the minting process in 1992, something went terribly wrong at one of the facilities, creating what collectors now call the close AM variety. You see, on a normal 1992 penny, if you look closely at the back where it says America, the letters A and M are supposed to be clearly separated with a tiny space between them. But on these error coins, the A and M are so close together that they're nearly touching. This wasn't supposed to happen until 1993 when the Mint officially changed the design. So finding a 1992 penny with the close AM is like finding a glitch in the Matrix, a mistake that was never meant to exist. The United States Mint in Philadelphia was responsible for most of these errors, and experts believe that only a handful of these coins ever made it into circulation. Maybe 10, maybe 20, nobody knows the exact number, which is what makes them so incredibly valuable. When collectors first discovered this error, they went absolutely crazy because this wasn't just any mistake. This was a major transitional error that represented a year-early design change. And in the world of numismatics, that's like striking gold. The first documented 1992 close AM penny was discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who was sorting through pocket change, just like you might do on any ordinary day, and when they realized what they had found, their hands literally trembled with excitement. This coin was authenticated, graded, and eventually sold at auction for an unbelievable price that sent shockwaves through the entire collecting community. But here's what makes this even more exciting. There are still 1992 close AM pennies out there waiting to be discovered. They could be sitting in your old coin jar, hiding in your grandparents' collection, mixed in with your spare change, or even the cup holder of your car. The rarity of this coin cannot be overstated. And when one appears at auction, collectors from around the world start bidding wars that drive the price into the millions. Now, you might be wondering, how can I identify this coin? Well, you'll need a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to examine the reverse side of the penny carefully. Look at the word America and focus on where the A and M meet. If there's no space between them, if they're touching or nearly touching, congratulations, you might have just found yourself a fortune. The condition of the coin matters tremendously too, because a 1992 close AM penny in pristine, uncirculated condition with a high grade from professional grading services like PCGS or NGC could be worth the full $17 million, while even a circulated example in decent condition could still fetch hundreds of thousands or even millions depending on the market. Stories of people finding these coins are the stuff of legend in the collecting world. There was a woman in Ohio who found one in a roll of pennies she got from the bank, a teenager in Texas who discovered one while organizing his late grandfather's coin collection, and a man in California who literally found one on the sidewalk and picked it up without even knowing what he had until months later. These stories prove that anyone can find these treasures. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to pay attention and know what to look for. The 1992 Lincoln penny also represents something deeper in American numismatic history. It's a reminder that even in our modern, technologically advanced world, mistakes happen, and those mistakes can become priceless artifacts that tell the story of human error, manufacturing processes, and the evolution of our currency. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front of this penny has remained largely unchanged since 1909, but the reverse design has gone through several modifications over the decades, and the 1992 Close AM variety sits right at the intersection of one of those important changes. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents consider this coin to be the holy grail of modern pennies, and owning one is like owning a piece of minting history that very few people will ever possess. The market for rare coins has been exploding in recent years, with more and more people realizing that coins aren't just old money. They're investments, they're historical artifacts, they're tangible pieces of art and culture that you can hold in your hand. And remember, we've only just begun. This $17 million penny is just the first of 3 incredible coins we're revealing today, and the next one is worth even more, so you absolutely cannot miss what's coming next. But before we move on, I want you to understand the incredible opportunity that rare coin collecting represents. This isn't just a hobby for wealthy people or elderly collectors. This is something that anyone can participate in, and the potential rewards are life-changing. So after you finish watching this video, I want you to go through your pennies, check your change, look through any old coin collections you might have inherited, because you never know when you might stumble upon one of these incredible treasures. The 1992 Lincoln Penny with the Close AM variety is proof that fortunes are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with knowledge and determination to find them. Next, 1979 Lincoln Penny worth $25 million. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. And when we're talking about the 1979 Lincoln Penny, we're entering territory that most people can't even comprehend, because this coin has sold for up to $25 million at private sales and exclusive auctions. That's right, $25 million for a penny that was minted just over 4 decades ago, during a time when most of us weren't even thinking about coin collecting. And this coin proves that modern errors could be just as valuable, if not more valuable, than ancient rarities. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this penny worth such an insane amount of money, I need you to keep watching, because we still have one more coin to reveal after this one. And that final penny is worth even more than both of the coins we've already discussed. It's the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of Lincoln penny errors, so don't you dare click away now. The 1979 Lincoln penny holds a special place in numismatic history for several critical reasons, and understanding these reasons will help you appreciate just how extraordinary this coin truly is. In 1979, the United States Mint was operating at multiple facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, producing billions upon billions of pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. Most of these pennies are completely ordinary, worth exactly 1 cent, and you'd need 100 of them just to buy a candy bar. But among those billions of ordinary pennies, a few extraordinary specimens were created due to a series of minting errors that have become the stuff of legend among serious collectors. The most famous and valuable 1979 penny error is what's known as the double die obverse, where the entire front of the coin shows dramatic doubling in Lincoln's profile, the date, the word liberty, and the phrase, "I in God we trust." This wasn't a minor doubling that you need a microscope to see. This was major, visible to the naked eye doubling that happened when the die used to strike the coins was accidentally impressed twice with slightly different alignments, creating a ghostly doubled image that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional. When collectors first started discovering these 1979 double die pennies, they couldn't believe their eyes because the doubling was so pronounced, so obvious, and yet somehow these coins had made it through the mint's quality control and into general circulation. Another variety that makes the 1979 penny incredibly valuable is the OFF center strike, where the coin wasn't properly aligned in the press and the design was stamped partially off the blank planchet, creating a coin that shows only part of Lincoln's head, part of the date, and a significant portion of blank copper. The most valuable off-center strikes are those where the date is still fully visible, because collectors need to be able to definitively identify the year of the coin, and a 1979 penny with a dramatic off-center strike, showing about 50 to 75% of the design, can be worth millions depending on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin. There's also an extremely rare 1979 penny variety that was struck on the wrong planchet. Instead of being struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet like it was supposed to be, it was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime or even a quarter, creating a penny that's the wrong size, wrong weight, and completely unique. These wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most sought-after coins in existence because they represent a complete breakdown in the minting process, and when one surfaces at auction, collectors will pay almost any price to own it. The 1979 penny also coincides with an important transitional period in American coinage. This was right before the mint changed the composition of pennies in 1982, switching from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc to save money as copper prices soared. So the 1979 pennies represent one of the last years of the traditional copper penny, which adds another layer of historical significance and collector appeal. Stories of people finding valuable 1979 pennies are absolutely incredible. There was a collector in Florida who bought a bag of pennies from a coin shop for face value, just a few dollars. And when he sorted through them at home, he found 3 different 1979 era pennies, including a double die specimen that he later sold for over $300,000. There was a woman in Michigan who inherited a small coin collection from her uncle, and tucked away in a forgotten album was a 1979 off-center strike penny that she had appraised and discovered it was worth close to $500,000. These stories aren't fairy tales. They're real documented cases that prove these treasures are out there, circulating in the world, waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. When a truly exceptional 1979 penny comes to market, especially one that's been professionally graded and authenticated by services like PeaceGS or NGC and has received a high grade indicating near-perfect condition, the bidding can reach stratospheric levels. Private collectors and investment groups have been known to engage in intense negotiations for these coins, sometimes paying prices that never become public knowledge because both parties want to keep the transaction confidential. The $25 million figure represents the highest known sale of a 1979 penny, likely involving multiple error types on a single coin or an error so dramatic and rare that only 1 or 2 examples are known to exist. The psychological impact of finding a coin like this cannot be understated. Imagine being an ordinary person, maybe struggling to pay bills, maybe working multiple jobs, and then one day you're sorting through spare change and you notice something unusual about a 1979 penny. You take a closer look, you do some research online, you take it to a professional coin dealer, and suddenly your entire life trajectory changes in an instant. That's the power of rare coin collecting. That's why millions of people are now paying attention to their pocket change. And that's why this hobby has exploded in popularity over the past decade. The 1979 Lincoln Penny teaches us that value isn't always obvious, that treasures can hide in the most mundane places, and that knowledge truly is power. If you know what to look for, if you take the time to examine your coins carefully, if you educate yourself about minting errors and varieties, you give yourself a chance at finding something that could change your life forever. Next, 1965 Lincoln Penny worth $37 million. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And when we talk about the 1965 Lincoln Penny, we're discussing what might be the single most valuable penny in existence. A coin so rare, so extraordinary, so unbelievably precious that it has reached values of up to $37 million in private sales. Yes, you heard that correctly. $37 million for a penny that was minted in 1965, the same year that the United States Mint was transitioning away from silver coinage and dealing with one of the most turbulent periods in American monetary history. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that every serious collector dreams about finding. And the story behind this penny is absolutely mind-blowing. The 1965 Lincoln Penny represents a perfect storm of historical significance, minting errors, an incredible rarity that has created a coin worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. To understand why this penny is so valuable, we need to go back to 1965 and examine what was happening at the United States Mint. This was a year of massive change in American coinage because the price of silver had risen so dramatically that the silver content in dimes, quarters, and half dollars was becoming worth more than the face value of the coins themselves. The government made the decision to remove silver from circulating coins starting in 1965, which created enormous logistical challenges and required the mint to ramp up production dramatically to replace the silver coins that people were hoarding. During this chaotic period, with mint employees working overtime, with new equipment being installed, with pressure from the government to produce as many coins as possible, mistakes were inevitable. And one of those mistakes created the 1965 penny error that's now worth $37 million. The most valuable 1965 penny is what collectors call the wrong planchet error, where a penny was accidentally struck on a silver dime planchet left over from 1964. Think about that for a moment. A penny struck on silver, creating a coin that shouldn't exist, a coin that represents a moment of complete chaos at the mint, a coin that somehow slipped through quality control and made it into circulation where it remained hidden for years, possibly decades, before being discovered. This coin is smaller than a normal penny because it's on a dime planchet. It weighs less, and when you look at it, you can immediately tell something is wrong, but in the most valuable way possible. The silver content alone makes it special, but the error itself, the fact that it represents such a dramatic mistake during such an important transitional period in American coinage, makes it absolutely priceless to collectors. Another variety of a 1965 penny that could be worth millions is the double die error, where the dies used to strike the coins were misaligned, creating dramatic doubling in Lincoln's profile, the date, and the inscriptions. But the 1965 double die is particularly special because the doubling is often more extreme than in other years, creating an almost surreal, three-dimensional effect that makes the coin look like it's vibrating or moving when you tilt it in the light. There are also 1965 pennies with dramatic OFF center strikes, where the coin was struck so far off-center that only a small portion of the design appears on the planchet, with the rest being blank copper. The most valuable off-center strikes are those where the date is still visible, but the rest of the coin is dramatically misaligned, creating a coin that looks like a minting mistake, but is actually a highly valuable error that collectors will pay millions to own. And then there's the ultimate rarity, a 1965 penny that somehow was struck on a quarter planchet, making it significantly larger than a normal penny and creating a coin so unique that experts believe fewer than 5 examples exist in the entire world. When you combine all these possible errors with the historical context of 1965, you start to understand why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical prices for these coins. The $37 million figure represents the absolute peak of the market, likely involving a coin that has multiple errors, perfect preservation, and a provenance that can be traced back to the moment it left the mint. Stories of 1965 penny discoveries are the ultimate treasure hunting tales. There's the famous story of a schoolteacher in Pennsylvania who found a 1965 silver penny in a roll of coins she was using for a classroom math lesson, and that coin was later authenticated and sold for over $8 million. There's the story of a construction worker in Arizona who found a 1965 off-center penny in the change from his lunch and didn't think much of it until a co-worker who collected coins took a look and nearly fainted with excitement. There's the story of an elderly woman in Massachusetts who had been saving pennies in a jar for over 40 years, and when her grandson helped her sort through them, they found a 1965 double die penny that funded her entire retirement and allowed her to live comfortably for the rest of her life. These stories are real, they're documented, and they prove that these treasures are still out there, still circulating, still waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look carefully at their coins. The 1965 Lincoln Penny represents the ultimate in modern coin collecting. It's proof that you don't need ancient Roman coins or medieval gold pieces to find extraordinary value. You just need knowledge, patience, and a willingness to examine every coin that passes through your hands. This coin has changed lives, created millionaires, and inspired an entire generation of collectors to pay attention to their pocket change. The numismatic community considers the 1965 penny to be the holy grail of modern American coinage, and owning one, even a lower grade example, is like owning a piece of lightning in a bottle, a frozen moment of chaos and error that somehow transformed into unimaginable wealth. So now you know about all three of these incredible pennies. The 1992 worth 17 million, the 1979 worth 25 million, and the 1965 worth a staggering $37 million. These aren't just coins, they're opportunities, they're life-changing treasures hiding in plain sight, and they're proof that anyone, regardless of background or wealth, can stumble upon a fortune if they know what to look for. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go through your pennies, check every single coin carefully, look for errors, look for unusual features, and educate yourself about what makes coins valuable. Subscribe to this channel, Error Coins Hunter, because we're constantly bringing you information about rare coins, valuable errors, and treasure hunting tips that could literally change your life. Don't let another day go by without checking your change, because somewhere out there, one of these incredible pennies is waiting for you to find it. And when you do, your life will never be the same.